Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unpacking a seriously provocative critique of the American education system. The core argument here is bold. Basically, it claims that over the last few decades, our schools have gone through this massive, deliberate structural shift. According to this analysis, we've essentially traded humanistic mentorship for a corporatized, data-driven technocracy. It's an analysis that totally challenges the very foundation of modern educational reform. It asks us to look way past the usual buzzwords, things like accountability and standards, to see what is actually happening to teachers and students on the ground. Okay, let's dive into this. We are going to trace the journey of a single test score all the way up to corporate data servers. We'll be looking at 1. The flawed testing metric, 2. Ignoring systemic realities, 3. The tragic teacher exodus, 4. The testing industrial complex, and 5. EdTech and data harvesting.
Starting off with Section 1, the flawed testing metric.
So this massive shift in education was basically inaugurated by the accountability movement, and its main tool, value-added modeling, or VAM. VAM is a statistical method used to link a teacher's actual salary and job security directly to the fluctuating standardized test scores of their students. I mean, the premise sounds logical, right? Use data to keep things accountable. But this analysis notes that policymakers have implemented these models with a real zealot's fervor. They've transformed the classroom into a site of surveillance rather than inquiry, and replaced professional trust with a strict reliance on standardized output.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that despite its massive, widespread use, actual statistical experts view this metric incredibly harshly. The American Statistical Association, which is a premier authority on data, warned that VAM is a statistical phantasmagoria that is riddled with error. The critique here is that modern teacher evaluation is mathematically unstable. Critics point out that these models are fundamentally incapable of isolating a single teacher's impact from the massive, tangled web of external variables that shape a child's life. Which brings us to Section 2, ignoring systemic classroom realities. If leading statisticians are warning that these models are riddled with error, what exactly are they missing? Well, the source argues they have a massive blind spot when it comes to everyday American life. These models systematically ignore things like deep-seated poverty, crumbling infrastructure in high-need districts, and just the naturally volatile nature of test scores in general. Because socioeconomic status remains the absolute primary driver of student performance, treating poverty as just some minor externality unfairly penalizes teachers in high-need districts. It's like the entire burden of environmental and societal failure is placed squarely on the shoulders of the instructor. Let's look at the human cost of all this in Section 3, the tragic teacher exodus.
When you tie a professional's livelihood to flawed, highly volatile data, there are huge consequences. And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two completely different realities. On one side, we have the traditional humanistic craft. Here, the educator is a pedagogical mentor, guiding spontaneous inquiry, using the library as a true site of exploration. But on the other side, the new reality. The teacher is reduced to an automated dashboard monitor. The curriculum is totally flattened just to optimize for continuous assessment. The core argument here is that educators have essentially been stripped of their intellectual autonomy, turning into glorified proctors for software packages.
This hostile, precarious environment has really pushed things to a breaking point, what the source critique calls a tragic exodus from the profession. We're seeing teacher turnover rates spiking to over 15%. The analysis suggests that this isn't just normal, everyday attrition. Rather, it's the logical conclusion of a climate where talent is actively punished for external factors, and educators are scapegoated for broader societal failures that are entirely beyond their control.
So, who is actually architecting this? That brings us to Section 4, the testing industrial complex. If the data is so flawed and teachers are leaving in droves, who actually benefits from all this? The analysis shifts our attention upward to the corporate architects behind these structural shifts, the testing industrial complex. Just look at these numbers. The big four publishers, Pearson, McGraw-Hill, Educational Testing Service, and Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, collectively funneled more than $20 million into lobbying between 2009 and 2014 alone. And their strategic impact wasn't just about selling more textbooks. It was about mandating standardized curriculum modules and cementing high-stakes assessments as a mandatory fixture for state funding. By owning the assessment infrastructure, these corporations ensure a constant stream of revenue. They are effectively dictating the terms of classroom engagement directly from corporate boardrooms. Beyond the traditional publishers, this analysis heavily critiques the role of private philanthropy, specifically looking at the Gates Foundation's $200 million investment into the Common Core initiative. The author characterizes this as a form of soft power coercion. By tying funds to federal grants and state budgets, private billionaires effectively bypass local democratic processes and school boards just to impose this uniform technocratic vision. The source describes it essentially as a massive beta test conducted on an entire generation of students, a test that yielded results that even its own backers admitted were pretty underwhelming.
Which brings us to our final, terminal phase, Section 5, EdTech and Data Harvesting.
Let's move to and see how this builds into what the source provocatively terms the enshittification of the American classroom, or digital catfishing. It's a pipeline that starts with step 1, the promise. They lure parents and students in with the shiny buzzword of personalized learning. But then step 2 reveals the actual delivery. It's an automated, low-quality experience that prioritizes screen time, masquerading as engagement, over deep comprehension. Step 3 is the data harvest. Here, platforms exploit loopholes in federal student privacy laws, like FERPA. And finally, step 4, monetization. The learner is literally transformed into a commodity as their data profiles are monetized and sold off. The physical library has been fully replaced by a digital dashboard recording every single click for corporate extraction.
Which brings us to a final, absolutely critical reflection. After examining these flawed metrics, de-skilled teachers, corporate lobbying, and massive data harvesting, we really have to ask, who does the modern classroom actually serve? Is it a system designed for the teachers and the taught to foster humanistic inquiry and mentorship? Or has it been structurally redesigned just to serve the balance sheets of publishers and plutocrats? It's a highly provocative question, but it challenges us to fundamentally rethink the language of learning in the 21st century. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.